Hi, how are you?
It is an honor to represent the United States at this historic meeting.
As the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations,
the game has changed, and the rules to the new one are still being written.
And later, Secretary of State,
our goal is a region where no nation seeks to dominate others.
Madeleine Albright mastered the art of the negotiation.
In diplomacy, bilateral and multilateral is a very important tool. And then there are the economic tools, which are either the sticks, sanctions and embargoes, or the carrots, which are aids, trade.
But those weren't the only things in her national security toolbox. Often, she'd let her brooches do the talking.
On good days, I'd wear flowers and balloons and butterflies, and on bad days, I would wear spiders and bugs.
Every day when you decide to wear a brooch, do you say, I want to communicate this today, or I feel that today?
Well, it's not quite as organized as that, but I do really love them. I call them pins. I've decided that's kind of more up my alley than a brooch.
Really?
But
why? What do you have against brooches?
I think
sounds a little old ladyish.
A little old ladyish, right. Good morning, everybody. And before we begin, I really want to thank you all for being here.
If anyone defies the stereotype of the little old lady, it's Albright.
But I think next week, perfectly planned, is there is so much multilateral stuff going on.
Now a professor at Georgetown University, when she became Secretary of State back in 1997, she was the most powerful female government official in U.S. history.
I, Madeleine Albright.
Albright was entering what had been a man's world, but she wasn't about to give up her female side.
I love being a woman, and so I thought that I needed to be who I was. Well, this is me.
Which meant indulging her passion for pins. She had worn them most of her life, but because of one infamous world leader, they became more than a simple accessory.
Saddam Hussein called me a serpent when I was ambassador at the United Nations. And I happened to have a snake pin that I had gotten that's an antique pin, very pretty, and I decided to wear it whenever we did something on Iraq.
From then on, pins became part of her diplomatic arsenal.
And so when people would say, "What are you doing today?" I'd say, "Read my pins." And that's how it started. If you remember, first President Bush had just said, "Read my lips."
No new taxes.
No new taxes.
You got it from him?
I got it from him.
Read My Pins is the title of Albright's new book. And there's an exhibit opening Wednesday at the Museum of Arts and Design in New York City.
What do you think of all this?
I just think it's amazing. You know, I have these all hanging in my closet, and all of a sudden to see this stuff out here displayed so beautifully.
There are more than 300 in her collection. One made from the Berlin Wall, one that has pieces of the glass ceiling. The most expensive, this eagle she bought herself when she was named Secretary of State. But most are priceless for other reasons.
It's a democratic, small d, collection because it really is made up of a lot of costume jewelry, some of which I bought for $10 or, really inexpensive. And that's why I think the collection is so much fun, because it says anybody can do it. It's not made up of fancy jewels.
The real value of the pins is in the stories they tell.
Good afternoon.
There's the Bluebird Albright wore in 1996 after the Cuban Air Force shot down 2 U.S. civilian planes, killing the pilots.
Frankly, this is not cojones. This is cowardice. Usually I wore it with the head up, the bird soaring, but I wore it head down in honor of the pilots.
Her message to Yasser Arafat, beware.
Because we were doing a little bit of stinging along the way.
He later gave her this butterfly.
I
float like a butterfly, sting like a bee.
Something like that, right.
This is a very cool pin, the Atlas pin.
The Atlas pin.
Do you wear it during trying times?
Difficult times. I wore it when we had a lot of heavy lifting to do.
Some pins are deeply personal.
I wear this every Valentine's Day, and it was made by my daughter Katie when she was 5 years old.
One from New Orleans, she says, is too precious to wear.
A young man came up to me with a box and he said, "My mother died as a result of Katrina. My father had given her this pin for their 50th wedding anniversary. And we think that she would want you to have it. And I was undone. I really was undone.
Whatever stories they tell, the pins are pieces of history, touchstones of Madeleine Albright's remarkable life and her uncanny ability to connect.
I fully believe that as complicated as the issues are, that ultimately it does come down to relationships. So the pins are just a great way of breaking the ice.
You think this is fabulous, seriously?
It's largely fabulous.
I think you're also signaling through your pins that you've got a sense of humor, which is really invaluable in any situation.
I agree. Really, sense of humor will save you every time. Beautiful. Perfect.
And I think we got it on eBay.